it isn't until we hear from Zachary's dad that we now know we're dealing with some gangsters. Some real bona fide down the family line.
To be fair, he was being honest. To be fair. That
no,
man said,
I knew.
This man said, I had this lawyer since childhood. I've never heard. Oh my God. I'm over here looking for resource counselors for college. This man said, nope, I got me a paid attorney on retainer at 14. I'm not.
Well, I mean, he did. Wow.
He did say that. Like, so I'm gonna need y'all to stop playing with me. Like, tell it like it was. Like, just. But see, we not from there. But we know there's a story there. Like somebody knows a story.
I feel like if they tried to branch out certain elements, like you were explaining, that would paint a better picture. It's like they're hiding something more that can probably look worse on optics than they want, than it already is. That's the only thing I can come to, unless they just can't put a story together. It's
okay.
one of the
you know what? Well, okay, real quick in the chat. Most of the time, when somebody gets sworn in, they're sworn in to do what? To tell just put in the chat. Put in the chat. What are they sworn to do? Usually, put their hand on the Bible, lift their hand up and say, "I."
Gotta be honest.
Whatever. But most of us know it as the what? The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Sometimes a lie.
Some form or variation of that statement. And I could tell you the truth, but I could withhold some information. Rome King punched me in the throat.
Allegedly.
After I punched him in the head. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I could kind of forget that. I could tell the truth, but I got to tell the whole truth and not add to it, AKA Rome King threatened to run me over with his car. The problem is he told me that when we were 9 years old, running our little Hot Wheel cars when we were playing in our backyard. Well, it's still true. It's just not true in this context of this conversation. So when and again, I just don't think that maybe the lawyers need to take an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. There's some part of this story that will not pass the smell test if they reveal it, if they share it. Maybe it's that Jeffrey really isn't guilty. Maybe they say that Jeffrey, we don't have a RICO case at all. We really just got a whole bunch of criminals running around here. We need to throw the book at these guys, but we want to lump all of them in it because we want to get Jeffrey out of here for some reason. Maybe it's because of his money. I think it's still because of his money. But you got my point. So that's why I think they're not telling the whole story, because maybe the whole story is maybe just two of those guys. And one of them has got to be Rondarius and probably the other one's Huey. But you got my point. Maybe it's only two of those guys. But they're trying to lump everybody in. Okay, I'm sorry, go.
The story is, how is this a RICO? You understand what I'm saying? Like, make it make sense how this became a RICO. What was going on that made this a dangerous gang, right? And I think it's not going to be the individuals that we're looking at right now. Like, we're focused on Thug, when it is more so, it's all the people that came in. It's the ancillaries. It's the Copelands and his mindset at the time. It's the Sledge and his nurturing of folks at the time. I saw Sledge's interview also that he did the other day, and he said, like, when Jeffrey was growing up, he was the one giving him money for shoes and stuff like that, and he said that when he brought him into his environment to do the being a security guard, that people knew him. Like, Jeffrey got there and was like, yo, this is my man. When I was down and out, he did this and this and this for me, right? So he never disgraced or talk down on any of those guys that he tried to take away or show them something different, share the experience with them. He never disrespected any of them. Like, to be sitting in the seat that he's in, can understand why people are so apologetic to him. I don't know if he was truly humble under, but I do know that he was humble.
Truly humble under God.
I give Steele points because he really tried it. He really tried it.
He did.
Who?
When he described it, when Steele was over there breaking it down, he was like, "This is what it means." I was like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna let that slide. That was good.
But there are things that you gotta let Steele do because one, he's not a black man, so he's presenting it from a different perspective, and he looks at Thug's popularity and his from riches, from out of the dirt to riches life. He looks at that as such a reward. Like it's phenomenal. Like I would love to have somebody believe like he's representing him from a position of he really believes what he's saying. And he's really invested in his client. He's just not trying to stand up there and tell you his client didn't do something. He really believes what he's saying.
Right.
I believe that. And I think it comes across as a genuine, I believe this. Now, look across the courtroom. You know good and well they don't believe this. It doesn't come across like they believe this. I'm just punching the clock. I'm just here so I don't get fined. That's just it. That's how it comes across. And I say this again. If you think that your cause is righteous, that you're cleaning the streets of Atlanta, and you're going to throw these no good for nothing nearly wells in jail forever, would you not be more prepared? Would you not be more polished? Would you not be more crisp? You coming in here on two wheels like you coming off of a bender all weekend.
The only thing I can make sense of that is like we were saying earlier, a lot of the stuff that they have is circumstantial. So when they present it, they have to present it with a certain level of confidence and pray that 9 other shark-like attorneys don't pick up on any of the errors. So it's not like one set of eyes is watching their deceptive ploy. You got that many people in the courtroom, it's going to be hard to wiggle anything by.
Let me also add, because I watched Keith Adams and Max Shard when they went off about Darth Gaither breathing all heavy and stuff like that in court the other day. And you notice they tell you that they're watching social media. He told you that. Matter of fact, Doug Weinstein on Phil's channel today said they watch Law and Crime while they're in the courtroom and they're paying attention to the chat.
I can't believe he said that though.
I didn't want him to say that either. I really didn't want him to say that, but I'm like, Doug, okay, all right.
I mean, it's a resource, so it's a resource.
So, but Max Shard alluded to it. Doug Weinstein just outright said it.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Sir, do you have any concerns about any current grounds for a mistrial or appeal based on how the judge has ruled in favor of the prosecution more often than the defense? Does that make you stutter or feel like something might go south for you?
As far as Judge Whitaker goes, I know people think they see bias there. Obviously, there's some rulings that she's made that I don't agree with, but I think she's been pretty fair all around. I have a lot of issues with the rulings Judge Glanville made over the course. I think there are so many different grounds for appeal prior to Judge Whitaker taking over. And frankly, some of Judge Whitaker's decisions are grounds for appeal. I believe she should have granted my motions for mistrial. I mean, I wouldn't have filed the motions for mistrial unless I thought there was a solid foundation for it and they should have been granted. So in that respect, what she did there, I think, is a grounds for appeal. So this, I don't see how this case, as much as, even if Judge Whitaker does a perfect job from here going forward, if, God forbid, there's a guilty verdict in this case, I don't see how this case stands up on appeal.
I got you. I'm trying to find the question because I am interested in this. I've watched the pre-trial motion for using rap lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
And I do have a question about that, but I'm going to ask my question. Judge, this is something I've noticed. Judge Glanville said certain things about that motion, which I think you argued it very well. I do think there are some things, some areas that I feel like you might not have hit it right out the park, but I don't think it was, I still don't think they did as well as they were granted, but I digress.
Yeah.
Judge Glanville made some decisions on that. Like, for example, that the rap lyrics prove that Jeffrey is the leader of the gang, if you will. The lyrics. It seems like, and sounds like to me, Judge Whitaker almost contradicted that a couple of days ago with the commentary about something on a Instagram post. Some comment that was in an Instagram post almost contradicted what Judge Glanville said, which, in my opinion, this whole case was built on lyrics, rap lyrics, and, shored up by Woody and Sledge. But is that possible for a judge to contradict the previous judge and it not be thrown out? Or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, Judge Whitaker, I think, is reluctant to revisit any of Judge Glanville's rulings.
I agree.
I don't specifically agree with your view of how he ruled on the interpretation of the lyrics as it relates to Jeffrey Williams. I'm not going to speak on it because he's not my client. I just don't agree with your assessment of his ruling. As I took his rap lyric ruling, he has found that they're, at least on a preliminary basis, the rap lyrics are admissible. And I too think I could have argued. And anytime you do something and you look back at it, you're like, oh, could have done that a little bit different. And I don't disagree that there's some things I could improve on that. But I find the use of rap lyrics incredibly offensive.
Amen.
Just on a macro level, from any number of perspectives, from a First Amendment perspective, from the fact that they only use lyrics against people of color, defendants of color. They're never used against anyone else. I think there is a incredibly racist presumption that if a Black person writes a lyric, it must be autobiographical, because I think there's an implication that for some reason a Black person cannot inhabit a persona and write from that perspective. So that's just on a big level. And then I just think on downright evidentiary issues, 401, 402, 403, they're more prejudicial than probative. There's so many issues with rap lyrics. And that's why, again, I keep suggesting people read the book Rap on Trial, because it's a fantastic book that gets into this. And it's one of the very first things I read when we took this case and I began working on it, because it's incredibly informative. I could do a whole show on nothing but the use of rap lyrics in trial.
And I might take you up on that, because I would like to dig into that a little bit more. I do appreciate, and I don't want it to sound like I didn't agree with your argumentation at all. I feel like I forgot the two fellas' names that they brought in. I just thought it was very interesting that everybody who was arguing against rap music or for rap music is north of 40 years old. I was like, look, is that not interesting to anybody else? That dynamic doesn't cause anybody else to say, that just, the optics doesn't look good. And you made a great point. I used it in a video. New music always sounds loud to old ears. And anybody who has children can agree. Like my children are right now doing something in the kitchen and it's loud to me. You know why? Because it's something new that I wouldn't do when I was 17 and 15 years old. And so I think that's the point. And I just think that his arguments were really bad. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I wish I could take credit for that line, but I steal from the best. I like to think I credit them, but I do steal from the best. So that line is from Justice Thurgood Marshall. Mm-hmm. And it had to do with a case involving, I believe, some type of performance of music. Maybe it was in Central Park. I can't remember anymore. And it's a great line that is true, not just for the literal sense of it. New music sounds loud to old ears, but I think it has implications beyond, or use beyond music. So I snagged that line from Justice Marshall.
Well, you've said it enough. You can say, as I always say.
As I always say.
Now you can do that. And then now you can just quote yourself.
Yeah.
So I love it. No, that was a very good. If you ever want to, I would love to hear more about your thoughts. And if the moderators would drop the link to the book, Rap on Trial, right? Rap on Trial.
Yeah, Rap on Trial. And I apologize for not knowing the authors' names. I should know them off the top of my head. One is a professor at the University of Georgia. But yeah, there it is right there. Great. Rap on Trial. Go out and buy it. It's not expensive. Of course, if you want to be shocked and outraged, but if that shock and outrage motivates you to force for change, to push for change with your vote, with petitioning, there's an act right now in Congress, the RAP Act.
Yeah.
Please write your Congress people about the RAP Act. I don't know where it stands, but it's supported by both Republicans and it's got bipartisan support.
That's got to be a lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get that through. Let's get that through Congress. It's not expensive. Of course, if you want to be shocked and outraged, but if that shock and outrage motivates you to force for change, to push for change with your vote, with petitioning, there's an act right now in Congress, the RAP Act.
Yeah.
Please write your Congress people about the RAP Act. I don't know where it stands, but it's supported by both Republicans and it's got bipartisan support.
That's got to be a lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get that through. Let's get that through Congress.
I love it. Thank you so much for that, man.
It's not this, and I really have no right to criticize their presentation because I've never been a prosecutor and I'm relatively new to criminal law, but I've litigated hundreds of cases, and it's not the way I would present a case, be it civil or criminal, just because I don't think the jury is able to follow what they're doing. And if it wasn't for the fact that my client is sitting at Rice Street, I think it's in my interest for them to drag this case out slowly. But I don't, if my guy was out on bond, I may not be, I probably wouldn't be objecting more than likely. And I may not be rushing them because I don't think it does them any good the way they're presenting the case. Do I think they have a solid case as a second question? I've never thought they had a solid case. I think they have a case built on circumstantial evidence, but that is evidence. People say, well, it's just circumstantial. You can convict on circumstantial evidence, but I don't think they have a great case. And so we've been fighting it.
I got you. I agree.
I was an adjunct professor for 10 years.
You got bored.
I love teaching. I love teaching. It's one of the reasons I go on these shows. It's one of the reasons, honestly, that I answer all these questions. I love to let people know about the law and answer whatever questions they have about the law, as long as I can do that and stay within my professional responsibilities and ethics and not damage my client. I'm more than happy to do it. I love it. And it's absolutely true. You have to be able to improvise. You have to be able to respond to questions from the class, questions from your students. Things can go a totally different way than you plan to teach a class lesson. And you need to be able to, as you know, I'm not telling you anything new, but when that happens, if you see an opening in class where you can go a different way and educate your students, then that's how you have to go. And I've done a little improv in the past, not recently.
Hit that like for deal with Christian. Yo, for deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that like for deal with Christian. For deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that like for deal with Christian.
I love it. Thank you so much for that.